Welcome to this Business Central launch event session, Get Data-Driven with Business Central Telemetry. This is part one of two about telemetry in this release. This is more the business-oriented version, whereas the what's new in telemetry is more for the techies. So hopefully you will join this if you are either a project manager or product owner and want to use telemetry to drive changes to your projects, go lives, after go live, or your products. How are people using our product? How can we make our product better? So let's get started. Two parts of insights. So insights on environment telemetry for the project manager and others if they want to. And insights on app telemetry for the product owner and maybe also others. And for both of these, they're kind of the middle layer. You think of telemetry is just data, usage data, error data, performance data. When we take data and transform it into insights and use Power BI to visualize, this is the insights part. And then once we have that, wouldn't it be nice to take actions on things? And that's what we talk about, alerting. And in this session, we're talking about alerting as a non-technical discipline, where we can simply use Power BI metrics to set up alerts. And then finally, for this session, I'm going to briefly talk about the telemetry maturity model that kind of explains to you how you can be or change your partner practices to be more data-driven, how you can use telemetry in more and more ways. So the maturity model explains you that journey and the next steps you could take to use data, telemetry data for more and more things. So let's get started with insights on environment telemetry for the project manager. So as a project manager for an implementation project of Business Central, and look, this could both be the project manager on the customer end and on the partner end. I don't care. Hopefully, if you work together, partners and customers, both of you actually want the same things. You want easy overview reports of user acceptance testing efforts. You want low friction go lives, and you want to follow up after go live to add more value with Business Central. I know that there's more to go lives than just errors and user acceptance testing, but these two are definitely disciplines or phases where telemetry can help you a lot as a project manager. So let me show you as a starting point how you can use Power BI on environment telemetry to help you in user acceptance testing phase. Let me show you how. So here I am in the Power BI app on environment telemetry. Note that no matter if you log 15 or 100 or 400 environments into the same telemetry database, you can still use this app or multiple of these apps and only filter to a specific environment. And let's just pretend that we do that here. For go live or for user acceptance testing, maybe the first thing you want to see is usage. If in the test area phase you expect people to be on like daily, then you can see that in the current daily users or weekly or monthly. And after go live, you can still track whether people are, if you have these DAO, WOW, MAU, daily, monthly, active, daily, weekly, monthly active users, and see if you still have people using Business Central as intended. For go live, you can see things like, let's take locations. Maybe you have a testing team somewhere in the world. Maybe you have some testers in India, some in UK, some in Denmark. This map shows you page views based on location and on language. And with all of these, it's both what you see and what you don't see. Let's say that you had a user acceptance testing phase and you were actually had planned that all the users in Portugal would be testing this week or had been testing last week. Well, here I can immediately see there's no usage from Portugal. So apparently the user testing that were supposed to happen last week didn't happen. There's no need to have status reports and ask them, the Portuguese team, whether they tested or not, because you can just see they did not. Or you could see, yes, they did. The Indian team delivered. They actually tested their things. On application areas, you can see which parts of Business Central base app was touched over this period. You can see whether people were working in inventory, in location, transfer, tracking. You can also see no one tested reservation or variant or SKU. So that might be a hole in your test area, or simply these features are not for this customer and it's perfectly fine to not have any numbers there. You can dive more into details about which pages were being used. You can see how were people visiting pages over the day. Apparently there was a lot happening around 3 o'clock in UK time here. And you can see most of the testing apparently happened on Wednesday. This is great if your test was planned for Wednesday. If your test was planned for Monday, it means people were delayed. So it's easily to see that. Again, no need to write and ask for status reports, just use data. This is also where the beauty of this shared between the customer and the partner is, because the sponsor on the customer end is likely to be as interested in the go live testing as the project manager on the partner end. So use this as a communication tool to kind of plan and see what's going on. Instead of page views, you could go and check reports. You could check feature usage, what features are being used. And very importantly for user acceptance testing, if you use Business Central with external systems, why not go and check whether they were actually tested? Here you can see the different publishers integrating to and from. So maybe you use Cantinia or some of the other partner apps here in this demo data set that were actually had incoming or outgoing web service requests. This is great. That means these parts of the systems were touched. And again, absence of data here mean, we actually forgot to check the integration with Shopify or the integration with the shipping system or whatever external system you are integrating Business Central with. So these are just some examples of reports that can help you get data on user acceptance testing. Let's go back to the deck and see if we have more scenarios for the project manager. Right, so back here at the deck, but don't worry, in a minute we'll be back directly into Power BI. Go live. This part of the implementation phase is super critical to remove errors and these things that for the few test users you expose them to that, but then you remove all of that friction before you kind of take all the rest of the users and put them into the system when it's live. So it's super critical that you can kind of get an overview of all the annoyances that happens and just get rid of them. That's what I call low friction go lives. And let me show you how you as a project manager or the project sponsor on the customer end can get a lot of data to drive these down to zero before all the other users are let onto the system. Let me show you. Right, so I'm back in the Power BI app on environments, but instead of going to the usage report here, I go to the error report. And this report shows a lot of different details, errors that happens across the system. Now, instead of just going through all the reports, this error report comes with a dashboard on three areas or three types of errors that can happen in Business Central. Let me just get rid of my filter here. And actually when I'm here, let me just show you that thing about getting the report only for one environment. When you set up the Power BI app, you need to connect to data. So this is the first thing you do. And in this menu, instead of just saying where is my telemetry data stored and how many days of data do I want. You have this ability here for environment include lists. So if you fill in this part, I know it's probably a bit small. Let me see if I can make it a bit bigger. Here, include list, you can actually put in some data here that says, when I load data for this particular app, I only want customer A. And then you can share this app with customer A's data with customer A without fearing that you're sharing customer B's data if that's also stored in telemetry. So just a little trick. For now, I'll just close this and just use the demo data we have here. So we have three types of errors. User errors, like errors that users see. Second down here is integrations, so to and from external services, any errors that happen there. And the third category here is system errors, typically things that are not set up correctly. It could be maybe job queues that are misconfigured or whatever. It could be a configuration packages that are somehow, if you have the wrong data there, they won't load. You will get a report on that if you click here. So specifically for Go Live, try to drive these down to 0. So that would be very nice that you sort out, say, permission errors. Let's have a look at those. So instead of, probably you've misconfigured some permissions in the beginning of this project. It's likely that you miss a few permission errors when you set up Business Central. And wouldn't it be nice for your test users in Go Live that you kind of use them to drive up permission errors, and then you can see, oh, it seems like this particular part here, there's a permission error happening for this customer, and I can see it's happening in the system app, and then I can see, oh, it seems like we need to fix this before all the other users get on the system. So that's one place where you should probably remove friction. Now, if I go here to the right of this report, and this is something that is true for all the error pages, for all the different pages here in the error report, you see that there are three numbers here. All errors, last 7 days, and since yesterday. These are here to help you as a project manager. If you start like a small quality project of driving these types of errors down to 0, you can actually see it helped. Instead of, let me just get rid of this one. You see, we had 16 errors happening in the last 30 days, or whatever look back period you set for the report. But we managed to get rid of all of them except one for the last day. 7 days for the last week, we only had one. And since yesterday, we actually didn't have any. So our initiative to drive permission errors to 0 is actually helping. Like we can see progress there. Now, I won't go through all these because that's super boring and that's something you should do at your own pace. But every single thing that could go wrong in Business Central where we have telemetry is in this report. And there's so many different things that you can tune during Go Live to make sure that once you're live, these are simply all 0 and you don't have any friction for all the rest of your users. At least you don't have any of the known friction that you can also already see with the test efforts you have. Let's go back to the deck and put in and let's just summarize what we learned for project managers. So all of these Go Live scenarios are described on docs. So the project manager as a persona has multiple of these personas described as scenarios, user acceptance testing and errors, and this is described how you can use the Power BI app for that. There are other things that the project manager might want to do, and I'll just highlight a few with some screenshots across the Power BI app. The first is, you actually saw this, the C base app feature usage, but it doesn't have to be for one particular customer. Let's say that you use telemetry for 400 customers. You can plug in a Power BI app for that and see which users are using which features in base app, and maybe you can learn from customer A and make customer B lives easier because they could also use these parts of the app. For performance, you can see things again happening across customers. So many of the visuals you see in the app have these by environment visuals. So you can see things by environment, and that means you can kind of see the blast radius of things. For instance, this particular performance problem for a database call is if you highlight that, you can see, oh, this is actually happening for these customers. So there are different ways to use this. Either you take the customer view, or you take the detail view and see the blast radius across customers. For everything you see in these apps, this is both for the environment app and for the product owner for the app, for the ISV app. If what you see in the reports is not enough, all of the pages come with a visual called Analyze Further in KQL with a link if you have set that up, or just a custom query that you can copy, and then you can get the data foundation for the report and analyze further in with KQL and tweak the query and take that analysis in a different way where compared to what was in the Power BI visualization. Then what happens if you have set this up is this just opens in Application Insights, and you can then change your query and do further analysis. You can also use telemetry for, instead of diving into error telemetry or performance telemetry or page views, you can think of this as signal intelligence. Now, if you are working as a spy, you want to monitor the embassy of your enemy. What signals are they sending out? These are all encrypted, so you can't read what they are sending out. But maybe you can check the numbers. If they start sending out a lot of messages, that tells you something is going on. Similarly here in telemetry, we have a page that is called Performance Events that just by the number of different events can tell you something. For instance, if I look at the numbers here, my old eyes, I will just need to look here. I can see that the events authorization succeeded open company was the most common one. That's maybe not surprising because that means people are logging in. Actually, this probably means that not people log in, but if I take the next one, it says something about task completed. So likely many of these open sessions events are because of automation. Different types of usage of Business Central will give you different of these. But this is a different way of looking at telemetry. You can see if you are a project manager, maybe after go live, how fast or slow updates are across environments. Maybe some customers complain about that the upgrade goes outside the window size, and maybe you need to schedule their upgrades in a different way. You can, another thing is that you can, in many of these pages, see where code is coming from, especially for errors. So you can kind of dive into this error is happening, but it's actually because of this module we built or we bought or we installed from an ISV. And then finally, you can troubleshoot all of these Power BI app configurations with under the admin report. This is also new, so that you can see if we set a filter on environments, what environments are actually included and so on. So you can have a report on the report, very meta. Finally, for compliance, also something new. This sensitive field monitoring feature that we have in Business Central allows an administrator to say, I want to track everything that happens on bank account and other fields because this is sensitive data. What Business Central will do is then make sure that data changes to these fields are logged to the change log. You can set up to get a notification by email, and Business Central will also log telemetry on this, what we call who did what when. We don't log the data changes to telemetry. We never log customer data. But in the recent report here, we actually add a link to the data change. So we know this data element changed on this date. And if you click that link, we then take you directly to the changelog in the product so you can see the data changes there. So hopefully this could be a different way to have compliance so that you can analyze data changes by company or data field, or you can kind of see if there's suspicious data changes either by user. This user is doing a lot of changes. Apparently he or she is doing it in the afternoon. That's maybe okay. But what if this always happened at 1 a.m. on Saturday nights? Maybe there's something fishy going on. So you can use the report to see that. And of course, you can see who changed what when directly with these user telemetry ID. So if you use this, if you have a disabled user telemetry ID for your environment, then you won't get it. You just get these non-applicable. If you have set it, you will get these IDs that you can then go into the user card and look up. For the project manager, also something that's actually important is to see changes. Now, changes maybe not so much that someone's installed an app. Maybe it is important for you to see because a change in the system could be a change in behavior. What we added in this release was feature changes, meaning if you go to feature management page as an admin and turn on and off things, this will be logged to telemetry and you can see it in the all changes report, in the administration report. But we also added a new report on this feature management. So here I can see that who changed which settings. For instance, someone changed or disabled a feature and I can see exactly when. And maybe this is important either before or after go live, that a semantic change in Business Central is related to someone flipping a feature management switch. You saw the DAO Wow Wow report, I won't repeat that. If you like what you saw here and haven't had the time to have it for your organization, it's super simple to get it. You simply go to Microsoft App Source. There's a link directly for the app here, aka.ms/BC telemetry report. Click that, install the app, connect to data. Now you are data driven. All right, enough of the project owner. Now let's switch to the product owner. This is the ISV organization where you build apps. What can you do or what would you expect as a product owner? Well, you want overview reports of how your app is being used across the world. You want to reduce friction and errors for your users, just like go live, and you want to reduce performance issues for your users. So let me show you a few of these. This could be a repeat of everything I did for the environment app. I won't do that. I'll just show you a few things that you can use as a product owner that you haven't seen before. So let me show you exactly that. So I'm back in the app, but notice the color changed because this is the app usage report, not the environment. So this is for app telemetry. You don't have as much data here as the environment have, but you have something else. For instance, if you have instrumented, and you should, your features in your app with feature telemetry module, you will be able to here on the feature usage report simply see how are my features being used. This is the key thing for the product owner to monitor, like which of my features are being used, and therefore also monitor which of the features are not being used. If someone is saying, oh, but we definitely need to work on feature XYZ because everyone loves it. Just go here and see, no, nobody loves it. No one is using it. Should we then kill it or should we improve it? That's of course up to you as a product owner, but now you have data on usage of your features. You can see it across feature over the day, over the week, over the month. You can see it by app. So you can also have, if you have multiple teams, multiple apps, you can see all of that here. Similarly, you can see feature uptake. So That's the same module, feature telemetry. You can see not only usage, but actually whether people have discovered, set up, or used your features. So this is coming even before usage, that if no one is discovering your features, then maybe you need to work on your wizards or your documentation or so on. What else could be interesting for the product owner? I would actually just do all of the demos in one. Errors, very important. You want to remove friction for your customers. And in here, there are a few things that are key. The first is, when you use the feature telemetry module, if you have set it up wrong, you're missing out. You would get instead of getting usage and uptake data, you would just get no data for your features. Unless you go in here for the feature telemetry app errors and make sure that you see which of my apps have misconfigured the telemetry module, make that change, drive these to 0, and now you get usage data. As part of the feature telemetry module, you can also log feature errors. That means specific error conditions that you want telemetry on. If you do that, they all come into this feature error report. And the beauty of this is the same data also flows to your customers' telemetry. So that means you get it for your apps, they get it for the errors in your app, and you have a common way of communicating about errors because you share the same worldview, you have the same data. Very important, if you use Key Vault to store secrets, you get an error. If anything is misconfigured there, you get the error report for that. This is very nice. We don't have any of these. And then for performance, you can also monitor the performance of your code around the world. This is key. You get some insights here on things you might want to change. And for instance, updates. If updating your app is causing problems for customers because updating your app is making them upgrade outside their update window, maybe it's something you can improve here. And we do have a new feature that came in the last release called data transfer that makes upgrade code much faster. So if you see high numbers here, maybe it's time to revisit your upgrade code units and make use of data transfer. Performance tests is important. You must, of course, do that. And we have this performance toolkit, BCPT, that has telemetry and a report here. So now you can also track your performance testing over time and see if you regress on performance and make sure that whatever you are performant now is also performant in the next version of your app. Last, I think, would be of interest for you is app source validations. In here, you can see if I had any data, I do not in this data set, but if you have app source apps, these are validated against all the versions of Business Central, and I think on a daily basis. So you get that directly in here. You can alert on it so that you early on find out that your app is not validating correct against the next major or the next minor. So something that definitely useful for you as a product owner, as a quality measure to see if your app is still functional for the next versions. All right, lots of things going on. Let's go back to the deck and see how you can alert on all this. All right, so we saw how, as a product owner, how is my app being used? Where do my users struggle on the error telemetry? And where does my app impact performance for my customers? All of these were part of the last demo. The app product owner persona is also documented on docs, so you can read about yourself here and the scenarios that are described on docs for using the Power BI app on your telemetry. You saw the report on BCPT, Business Central Performance Toolkit results. You saw the feature telemetry app errors. In the next section, you will learn how you can use Power BI metrics. You can actually, this feature telemetry app errors, you can also alert on that as a product owner I'll show you. That makes a bit more sense 5 minutes from now. If you looked at the reports for the environment, you noticed that they had MAU, DAO, WOW. You soon have the same DAT, WAT, MOT reports. The sample code is here already, and hopefully by the April you will have a report in Power BI on it. If you like what you see as a product owner, and then there's a short URL for you to get the Power BI app on AppSource, aka.ms/bc telemetry-isv-app. Go here, install the Power BI app, connect to telemetry, boom, now you have insights. But insights is not necessarily the only thing. You actually want to be actionable. And as a power user, not a telemetry geek, you want to have easy ways to alert, not setting up Power different logic apps and what have you, or write KQL. This is where Power BI Metrics is such a powerful tool that I hope that you're going to start using and start loving. Like you saw in the error reports that we had these all last 7 days or since yesterday numbers. This is great because you can kind of go into a page and see progress, but it's like, do you want to do that every single day for every report? Probably no. This is why Power BI Metrics, you add that to the mix. It's located on the Power BI portal right here with a goal or something, a goblet or whatever you do to win. So click that and get a scorecard. This is a scorecard. And in here you can define your own metrics. Metrics is just things you want to follow. So I added a daily job queue errors metric, and I want here to connect to data to track that over time. So when I do that, I can find my Power BI report on errors here. And then I open that and simply click on the tile here on the daily job queue errors and say, this is my data point, this is what I want to track. Every single day I want to track this number, and I want Power BI Metric to track it for me. When I do that, it's on my scorecard, and if you let that simmer for a few days, when you go back to that metric, you can simply go in already and see a graph of this metric over time. So what was every single day, Power BI goes in and finds that number and stores it for you. And now you have a graph of that. So imagine for your go live, you can simply see a graph of that going down. That means your initiative for changing these errors is working. But it's getting better. You can set up state rules for status. So for each of these metrics, you can define what does it mean to be on track, at risk, or completed by saying, if this number is greater than this, I'm on track. If it's less, and so on. So defining your thresholds for success directly in Power BI Metrics. And once you do that, and I think this is truly lovely, these state changes would just automatically go into your Teams channel. That means you would just be notified along the way that your job queue error project is now on track or it's completed. And if it regresses again, that would be a state change and you will get that to Teams. So you could have this for your projects, and then you could even, maybe as a customer, you want to keep them there so you are alerted if some things are going wrong. Maybe your IT department would like to see something, maybe others would like to track something. And it's all click, clickety, click, and now you have alerting. So to summarize, alerting with Power BI Metrics, set up telemetry, install the Power BI app, you need that for Power BI Metrics. Set up metrics, especially for go live or for some errors that's important for you to track. And if you want to track other things, you could do it with Power BI Metrics. You can even keep these after go live to have some alerting happening. So if things happen, you actually know before it's getting a big problem. For the more technical ways to alert there are tons of alerting queries and alert samples on BC Tech, aka.ms BC telemetry samples. For a lot of different scenarios are described here and the kind of alerting KQL query needed to alert on that. In case Power BI metrics is not enough, this is the full toolbox for you. And on Docs, we have these clickety-click templates. So you can actually go to Docs, find an example query, example app, click it, then you get a logic app, and then you copy that KQL's alerting query in here, and now you have a way to alert on things. This is definitely more technical than the Power BI metrics path, but maybe you want both Power BI metrics for the power users and alerting with logic apps for a different part of the organization, maybe the support organization. Now, how do you make this happen in your partner organization? You just don't get all this at once, so where do you start? This is where we built a maturity model for you to get started. So you can kind of map yourself into a different phase, and then there's a playbook for how you can go from tactical to focus to strategic and so on. All of this is available open source. So there's a deck here for you how to learn to be data-driven as a partner that takes you through the maturity model and the next steps or suggested next steps for you to get more and more data-driven. Okay, that's it. You made it. This is the end of part 1 for the data-driven part of telemetry. A few references before we wrap up. BC, aka.ms/BC telemetry. This is where everything happens on Docs, on everything related to telemetry. So go here to learn. And if that's not enough, aka.ms/BC telemetry samples. This is where you get code samples. The source code for the Power BI apps is there. Guidance that might not be suited for Docs. So this is all the nitty-gritty details if you want to go there. Every single week, new innovations happen in telemetry. It can be hard to follow things on Twitter and so on. So I started last October a newsletter on LinkedIn. Every month I send out kind of what's new in this area. And currently we have more than 1,700 subscribers. So if that's something for you, go and subscribe and get like a monthly digest email where you can kind of see if there are new things that you want to try out. Okay, go do's, and then we're done. First of all, set up telemetry. Before you do that, make sure that you know how to control and monitor your cost so you don't get any surprises about that. Second, use the maturity model as a partner. This is just a playbook for you, so it's very easy to understand how you can go from not being strategic to have telemetry and data be a more strategic thing inside your partner practice. Install the Power BI apps as an ISV or as a VAR, or both, and then start using alerts, both with what you have with the logic apps, but also try this new technique with the Power BI metrics and have alerting happening all over your partner practice. And with that, I would like to say thank you so much. If you want more telemetry, go to the part 2, which it dives more into tips and tricks and new telemetry for this release. Thank you so much.